Warning, this episode contains discussion of marriage. Listener discretion is advised. Patriarchy. It's probably an overused word in our society, but it came up multiple times while I was researching this case. What exactly it means is somewhat hard to pin down. A quick Google search will give you this definition. Quote, a system of society or government in which the father or eldest man is the head of the family. The most important word there for our case is family. The father is the head of the family. And when it comes to the Chechis and Hathaways, everything is about family. Are Joseph Chechi and Sophie Hathaway dating?
I don't know if they're actually dating.
Yes!
I would say they probably are.
Now, it's a very complicated existential question.
I would say it's a tough one.
I mean, I guess the question, we have to back up a second there.
From Milne Productions and MC203 Studios comes Will They, Won't They? Episode 2, Patriarchy, Matriarchy, and History.
I think there's a lot of Checho just doing what other people tell him to do. Whether that be patriarchal pressure, I like the alliteration, but from the family to move in that direction, or he just doesn't want to offend anybody.
This is Josh Brown. As I mentioned in last episode, Josh is one of the longest standing members of the community. He also believes that Joseph and Sophie are, quote, probably dating. But he voices a claim a lot of people I talked to had, that Checho may be going along with the family. Here he is again, questioning his own belief in the relationship.
I don't know how they decided that they two were a thing, where their whole families weren't a thing together.
He raises a strong point. The Hathaways and Chechis have a long history as families. From that first summer the Hathaways moved to New Covenant in 2017, the families immediately connected. They both had a girl and a boy just about the same ages. They shared similar opinions on theology and on politics. They had similar standards on upbringing and decoration. Those are probably the things that brought them together to begin with. But as the years went on, the families became inseparably intertwined. It wasn't long before you could barely go to the Chechi's house without seeing a Hathaway, and never go to the Hathaways without seeing a Chechi. They spent so much time together that they began to confuse outsiders. Here's David, a member of Rosedale Baptist, who doesn't know the Chechis and Hathaways as well.
Wait, who is this? Wait, name the two people again.
Joseph, Chechi, and Sophie.
Okay, for a second I thought they were in the same family. Okay,
The more time the families spent together, the more they bonded. The more, some would say, they were invested in a pair of their children getting married. Here's Luke again, who you heard in last episode, when I first asked him about the Checho and Sophie relationship.
There's lots of history that involves in this. I mean, if anything, you need to look at history, what's going on now in current events. You need to look at history and what's happened in the past to fully understand it. So I think history and I think circumstances and, the little bit of conclusive evidence that we have points to, yes, they are dating.
Okay. So maybe start digging into history. What do you mean by that? What type of history?
Well, I mean, it all goes back to the matriarchy. It starts, so here's what I mean by that. The Hathaways, Sophie Hathaway, and then the Chechis, Joseph Chechi, their families, they're very close. I mean, anyone can see that, They hang out a lot. Aiden, Sophie's brother, is really good friends with Checho, and then Lily, Checho's sister, is really good friends with Sophie. So, I mean, it's bound to happen. You see these things. It's a classic trope. These two really close families. Someone has to get married at some point. It's bound to happen. And it turns out that at this point that it seems like it's gonna be Checho and Sophie. So I mean, you have that, and then the fact that of course all the female relatives on all the sides are pushing for it. You have Lily, who is not super publicly, as of course that she's kind of close to the situation, not super publicly, but I'm sure is definitely supporting this and making sure it's going right. And then you have Carolyn, whenever she's around, just putting words in or pressuring Checho to do the right thing. So I mean, and I know that all of the siblings, the little siblings of Sophie, all push for it, all talk about it. They gossip about it more than anyone. So I think you can see that it's really the matriarchy, all the female relatives that are really pushing for this right now.
He swaps out an important term Josh used earlier. He says it's the matriarchy, not the patriarchy, that's so influential. Luke is right that by anyone's estimation, the women of the family would love to see Checho and Sophie together. A few years ago, Mrs. Chechi was cited as saying, quote, "We should pick out names from a hat and get all of our children married." Here's Opal, a younger member of the community, on another girl in the family, younger sister Cosette Hathaway.
Cosette has been wanting them to get together for a very long time. Reportedly, she has said that she believes that this is the perfect match and that they should have gotten together a long time ago.
Still, Josh has a point as well. Mr. Hathaway has long pressured older brother Aiden Hathaway to, quote, be a man and get a girlfriend, and it's not out of reach to see that he might be doing the same to Checho. Either way, though, both Luke and Josh agree that it's the pressure of the family that is driving the relationship. What's important here is that if true, it would be hard to say that Joseph and Sophie were dating. You could presume some sort of family courtship, but would this truly be dating under our modern definition if the participants are merely complacent but not active members in the relationship? Could Checho really be said to be Sophie's boyfriend if he's simply trying not to offend his family? On the other hand, many of you may be thinking that all I've presented in this episode is actually proof that they're dating. Luke earlier mentioned history, and he's not just talking about family history. There's also known history between Checho and Sophie particularly. According to multiple sources, Sophie was known in middle school to think up silly games just to hold Checho's hand. They've been known to sit together and talk about any and everything practically since they first met. Here's Luke talking about a situation long before anyone claimed they were dating.
At co-op, we would all have classes off at the same time. So it would usually be me, Sophie, and Checho in a room. I think maybe John was there too sometimes. But we'd all be in a room and have a free period. And we'd talk or study or something to that nature. And I mean, even then, I was, however, I was not very astute to those things. I'm not like constantly or wasn't constantly thinking about, I wonder if there's any romantic tension here. And I wasn't really thinking about that at that point. But even I could tell, there's something going on here. They're talking way too much for them just to be friends,
Even their family history could easily be argued as their greatest strength. Maybe it's family itself that made this true dating relationship really work and thrive. Still, the patriarchy and the matriarchy hang over this case. One of the unanswered questions I keep running up against is how exactly this supposed relationship got started. From what I know about Checho, it's hard to believe he was the one to take the initiative. In fact, one of the things that drives this investigation is I find it hard to believe that Checho would ever ask anyone on a date. But the patriarchy/matriarchy theory offers an out.
You started by saying that they are dating, and that would mean that, they're boyfriend and girlfriend. Do you think that there was ever a conversation in which Checho asked Sophie to be his girlfriend?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't have any conclusive proof. I would say probably not.
It feels like there's no way.
It feels like that would be an extreme situation. Something extreme would have to occur. Checho would have to be feeling crazy some night. I don't know. He'd have to take some stuff. Maybe his family fed him some stuff, and that happened. Maybe that's what it took. But I mean, I would be shocked if that ever happened. I mean, I think more likely is it just kind of happened, or Sophie kind of said something and Checho was like, yeah, I guess so, or maybe some of their family like actually started making them go on dates and they just kind of kept doing it. Something like that must have happened, or maybe it was like indirect. Maybe like talked to Aiden and Aiden like went back and forth between them. I don't know. That's a possibility. I don't think Aiden would be down for that, but their family might force him. I don't know.
And here's what Josh said about the first date.
she's like, can I go to a dinner with like let's say Lily and Aiden and Sophie, and maybe all the family just kind of left like very slowly, and they were just left there, and they decided it was a date, and it maybe went from there.
So you think it's possible that he was tricked into a first date?
I think that could be a possibility.
So were the families the ones who pushed them together? Does that mean they are or they aren't dating? I'm honestly not sure. What I do know is that the farther I push into this, the more confusing it gets. And it's about to get a whole lot more confusing.
What's your timeline for events? When do you think they first got together?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
1949. A year ago.
That's next time on Will They Won't They. Will They Won't They is a production of Mill from MC203 Studios. Will They Won't They is produced, written, and hosted by me, Micah Foster. Our theme music is composed by Joshua Brown. Special thanks to Sophie Hathaway.